Failure is a possibility that can happen. If all else doesn't fail, you're not innovating enough. If something is important enough, even if the odds are against you, you should do it anyway. The first step is to establish that something is possible, then it's likely to happen. Work extra hard. I mean, you need to spend 80 to 100 hours a week every week. This will increase the chances of success. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It's important that people come to work in the morning and enjoy their work. Patience is a virtue, and I learned patience. It's a tough lesson. Life is too short for long-term grudges. You shouldn't do things differently just because they're different. Something has to be better. You want to go the extra mile at making the best thing you can. Find anything wrong with it and fix it. Look for negative feedback, especially from your friends. Brands are just perceptions, and perceptions will conform to reality over time. Sometimes it will be in front, other times it will be behind. But a brand is just the collective impression that people have of a product. Persistence is very important. You shouldn't give up unless you're forced to give up. If something is important enough, you should try, even if the possible outcome is failure. When you try to create a company, it feels like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportions. It is very important to like the people you work with, otherwise your life and work will be very miserable. It's okay to put all your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. My biggest mistake is probably relying too much on talent and not one's personality. I think it's important for someone to have a good heart. You want to have a future where you can expect things to get better, not times where you expect things to get worse. You have to be moved enough to make it happen. Otherwise, you will only make yourself miserable. Optimism, pessimism, to hell with it, we will make it happen. While in college, I wanted to be involved in things that would change the world. Now I've done it. I wouldn't say I have the least amount of fear. However, I want my fear emotion to lessen because it is so disturbing and boiling over my nervous system. I have come to the conclusion that we should aspire to increase the scope and scale of human consciousness in order to better understand what questions to ask. Really, the only thing that makes sense is to strive for greater collective enlightenment. I can just watch it happen or be a part of it. I think this is the single best advice. Keep thinking about how you can do things better and questioning yourself. The idea of sunbathing on the beach is the main thing I do seems like the worst idea. Sounds terrible to me. I'm going crazy. I will use drugs. I'd be super duper bored. I like high intensity. Some people don't like change, but you need to accept change if the alternative is a disaster. I always have optimism, but I am realistic. It wasn't with the hope of great success that I started Tesla or SpaceX. It's just that I think they're important enough to do. There is a tremendous bias towards risk-taking. Everyone is trying to avoid it. My motivation for all of my companies is to get involved in something that I think will have a significant impact on the world. I think life on Earth must be more than just solving problems. It has to be something inspiring, even if it's not a big thing. Using PayPal, I thought, what are the problems that most impact the future of mankind? Not from the perspective of, what's the best way to make money? I'm interested in things that change the world or that affect the future through the marvels of new technology where you look at them and say, wow, how did that happen? How is that possible? Why do you want to live? What is the point? What inspires you? What do you like about the future? And if the future doesn't include being out there among the stars and being a multi-planetary species, it would be very sad if that wasn't the future we would have. If you wake up in the morning and think the future will be better, it's a sunny day. Not otherwise. Don't fool yourself into thinking something is working when it's not, or you'll get hung up on a bad solution. If you go back a few hundred years, what we take for granted today will feel like magic: being able to talk to people remotely, to transmit pictures, to fly, to access vast amounts of data like a fortune teller. These are all things that were considered magic several hundred years ago. I thought it was possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. Don't be afraid of new arenas. As much as possible, avoid hiring MBAs. The MBA program doesn't teach people how to start a company. Great companies are built on great products. Being an entrepreneur is like eating a glass and staring into the abyss of death. I think you should always remember that entropy is not on your side. I think most of the important stuff on the internet has been built. Physics is a good framework for thinking. Ellipsis. Simmer until the fundamental truths and arguments emerge from it. Starting and growing a business is as much about the innovation, drive and determination of the people who do it as it is with the products they sell. Really, the only thing that makes sense is to strive for greater collective enlightenment.